What's up? Good morning. Welcome on into Let's Bet It, presented by our friends at Superbook Sports. Lauren Jabbar here with Jared Smith. Jared, how are we? We're in week 16 of NFL season.
We are my Jets tonight, basically fighting for their playoff lives. Yesterday was good.
Yeah.
We we had a little double action yesterday. Myself, and our pal Mark Sino, easy winners in the bowl game last night. Really, the only show in town, unless you were interested in betting college hoops. And if you did, I hope you picked the underdogs yesterday. We had the biggest upset of like the millennium yesterday in college basketball. Eastern Illinois as a 31.5 point underdog upset Iowa. So
Crazy.
have that going
That
for
is
you.
some
If you're
crazy
at Eastern
stuff.
Illinois.
Yeah,
Wow.
that is some crazy stuff. Lots to get into today. First of all, NFL Would You Rather? We have Thursday Night Football preview with our guy Bobby Stanley, and I know you're passionate about this game for your New York
Yeah.
Jets. We also have a bowl game preview. We have the Armed Forces Bowl going on today, so we'll break that down as well. And then we can't end without our Pickswise 3-star play of the day and our best bets of the day. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's bet it. Let's start out with Would You Rather. Giving you two guys. You got to tell me which one would you rather choose. Comeback Player of the Year. Geno Smith at plus 105 or Christian McCaffrey at plus 250. Now, let me give you their stats. Geno Smith is thrown for 3,671 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Christian McCaffrey, 200 attempts, 927 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's averaging 4.7 yards per attempt. How do you feel?
Yeah, I appreciate you reading the stats. I don't think they matter as much in this particular award. First of all, you're dealing with two different positions. So it's like how do you grade the rushing yards compared to passing yards and this particular award too is more narrative based. And I'll be honest, I was so happy for Geno to the Pro Bowl. You got named to the Pro Bowl yesterday. Listen, I think every athlete at this level goes through adversity at some stage of their career. Like no one gets to that level of success without overcoming injuries or people doubting you or just trolls, like something that, pushes you and motivates you and gets that chip on your shoulder. But I do think it's to an extreme with Geno because of the just, vast array of issues that he has had throughout the course of his career, most of them coming with the Jets, getting punched out in the Jets locker room, way back in the day when he first started his career. And then, of course, switching locker rooms, going to the Giants, being the guy that took Eli Manning's start streak. And it wasn't his fault. He wasn't the person who made the decision, but he got a lot of the heat for that. And now going to Seattle, and I think he's been in Seattle for now 4 years. It's been multiple seasons, and finally getting that opportunity and taking advantage of it. So I think this is an easy choice for me. If anyone but Geno Smith wins this award, I think it's rigged. I'm joking, obviously, but he's got to be he has to be the guy.
I mean, he's gone through so much, and the way that he's been playing this season, obviously the Seahawks haven't done great the last few weeks, but I mean, you look at the start to the season, what he's been able to do, his completion percentage. I mean, he's still completing about 70% of his passes, which is wild. Next up, we got the Bengals to get the 1 seed at 6.5 to 1 odds, or the 49ers to win the Super Bowl at 7 to 1 odds.
Ooh, this
two
is
teams you were high on. I know, two teams you were high on.
This is a really good one. So that Bengals-Bills game means everything. The issue that I see with making this call is I have to also handicap the other teams in the AFC. Whereas the Niners, they don't need anyone else to lose in order for them to win the Super Bowl. They just need to take care of their business. But for the Bengals to win the 1 seed in the AFC, not only did they have to beat Buffalo and win their other games, and I'll be honest, we'll talk about it on Playbook later today. Live Playbook, by the way. Please tune in.
1 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, there's some interesting line movement towards the Patriots this week in their game against the Bengals. I think that one's not going to be a cakewalk for Cincinnati either, especially after the just disaster we saw at the end of that New England game last week. I think I would pick the Niners here because I think the NFC now is wide open. Wide open. We don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to be back for the playoffs. The next best team in the NFC, ratings-wise, is the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Niners are right there with Dallas. And And I think the Niners are better than Dallas. I think from what I see from some of the sharper bookmakers I follow and interact with, the Niners would be favored on a neutral over the Cowboys. Not a big favorite, maybe one or half-point favorite. So I think Niners would be my choice here.
Yeah, I like the Niners 7-1. Last but not least, most receiving touchdowns. Travis Kelce at plus 150 or Devontae Adams at plus 170. Both of them right now sitting at 12 touchdowns on the season.
See, now the counting stats, very important with this statistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with this award, right? It's pretty much
sure.
everything. This is a good one too. Kelce's the guy for the Chiefs, but Adams has been on a nice little run in the second half of the season. And my guess is, again, I don't do any prep for these at all. I just like to kind of let you give me them and let me have my initial reaction.
Yeah.
So off the top of my head, I don't know who the Chiefs play the final 3 games, but there is a chance that they clinch the 1 seed. No, wait, who won the Chiefs?
They play the Seahawks. They play the Broncos, and they play the Raiders.
And they're tied with Buffalo for the 1 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Yes.
So let's just live in a world where, I guess what I'm trying to say is, there is a slight chance that the Chiefs clinch the 1 seed and the last game doesn't matter for them. I don't know if that's possible or not, but based off of where the standings are, there's a chance, right? Cincinnati beats Buffalo. Yep. Cincinnati loses this week to New England, beats Buffalo next week. The Chiefs win out, and then week 18 doesn't matter. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's just say for a second it is true. There's no chance that Devontae Adams has nothing to play for in week 18. The Raiders are going to have to probably win out to make the playoffs. So yeah, I guess my point is they'll be more motivated. So that's the only edge that I can quantify off the top of my head. There's a chance that the Chiefs have literally nothing to play for in week 18 where the Raiders do. So I would lean Devontae Adams just based off of that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these next 3 weeks play out. We have week 16, 17, and 18, and we're hitting week 16 hard tonight with Jags taking on the Jets. Let's bring in our friend Bobby Stanley, Prop Holiday, to give us some of these props for this Thursday night football game. The Jets are laying 1.5. That total is very low, set at 36 right now. Bobby Stanley, how are we?
I'm doing good, guys. It's the rain is coming in New Jersey. I can confirm it. I'm looking right out my window now, starting to get some gray skies. Talked to Grandma this morning on my morning walk. She can feel it in her bones. There is rain coming, so I can confirm that.
Oh,
Grandma knows
Granny Holiday, Grandma Holiday.
Her knees are a barometer, so there is some rain coming.
Grammy knows best. We love it. Tonight, big game. Jags taking on the Jets. The Jags feeling good right now. 3 wins in their last 4 games, or over the last 4 weeks. Comeback win over the Cowboys in overtime. The Jets lost last week to the Lions, and Zach Wilson's returned under center this week. You're also not riding high on our guy, Zach Wilson. Tell me why.
I'm going under on his pass attempts, and I found it at 30.5. It's at 20.5 on some 29.5. I'm sorry, on some other books, but I like it at under 30.5. I'll put my little head coaching cap on. Jets are 4-2 when he stays under this line. They're 1-2 when he goes above it. Now, last week, Detroit did a really good job of shutting down the Jets' run game. They've actually been doing pretty well over the last 3 weeks, allowing the fewest rushing yards per game, only 55 rushing yards per game. So they had to rely on Zach Wilson to make some plays, and he did in spurts. It was kind of inconsistent, though. The Jags, on the other hand, have been giving up 130 rushing yards per game over the last 3. So I do think they get the running game going. And then, obviously, the rain. 10 to 20 mile-an-hour winds, at least 1 inch of rain. So for the Jets, I think it's projected right now 14, 15 miles an hour at kickoff.
Wow.
If I'm the Jets, the recipe for success, force turnovers, run the ball effectively, and use Zach Wilson when I have to. So under 30.5 pass attempts is what I'm looking at.
So I'll be honest. I think about 9 out of 10 times we talk about the weather having an impact on the game. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't have as big of an impact as we tend to think. I think tonight's one of the 1 out of 10 where it does, because I've been to that stadium many times when it's cold, wind, rain. I can recall multiple live shots back from my days of, local news past where it's miserable. And that stadium is just, if you're unfamiliar with the Meadowlands, it's swamps, 10-mile radius, completely flat. Like, it's the worst possible place for wind and just misery. Like, it's literally the most miserable place in the world when the weather is like how it is today. So I think today is going to be one of those days where the weather has where the weather, Mother Nature will have her say.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind when you are making your bets tonight, because when I just looked at the Doppler forecast, it looked like one of those days when I used to dread doing a live shot outside of MetLife Stadium. So just be careful of that. Speaking of, Evan Ingram, over receiving yards. Go ahead, Bobby. Tell me why.
I swear there was thought put into this. There was well thought out information.
He's played
Evan
there
Ingram
before. He knows what's going on. He knows the surroundings.
100% spot on with your analysis of the Meadowlands. It's not a fun place to be. Me and my friends talked about actually going to the game tonight, and then we saw the forecast. We're like, nah, I'll watch that at home.
Yeah, maybe not.
Evan Ingram over 40.5 receiving yards. It's hard to pinpoint a weakness in this Jets defense, but the middle of the field is the closest thing to it. They're 19th in DVOA against middle of the field passing, where Ingram sees about 30% of his targets. Weather is a concern, but 53% of Ingram's targets are all in short yardage situations. So a lot of check downs, some play action passing, and he has a lot of yards after catch in those short yardage situations, the most of any passes around the field. So I like his matchup in the middle of the field. They are going to have to get the ball moving at some point. This line drastically went down because of the weather. I think it opened up at 48.5. Now it's at 40.5. I feel good about it if you can get it at the 40.5. And then we look at tight ends against the Jets this season. Mark Andrews, Harrison Bryant, Robert Tonyan, Pat Freiermuth, Dawson Knox. They've had success against the Jets. The perimeter of that defense, they do a damn good job between Gardner and Reed shutting down those wide receivers. So I think Evan Ingram, if there's going to be a passing target, it's going to be him for the Jacksonville Jags. And we saw Brock Wright last week with that, 51-yard touchdown against the Jets to kind of seal the game. So I love this line.
Don't remind me.
I got my green on for you, brother, man. I'm rooting for the Jets
Their
tonight.
only offensive score of the game.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay. Hey, the Lions' hopes of making the playoffs are still alive, and that's what I love to see.
I was planning on doing the show on Monday, but after that game, I called out. I'm just joking. I didn't.
Yeah.
It was a scheduled off day, but I couldn't deal with this one over here, this one over here.
It's okay. We'll get into that Lions game. They're taking on the Panthers this week. We have Pickswise Playbook coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure to tune in for that. I love your anytime touchdown score because the Jags have been really relying on Trevor Lawrence in the pass over the last 4 weeks or so. He's completed 68% of his passes, basically 11 touchdowns with only 1 interception. But with the weather the way that it is, we might see him using his legs a little bit more.
I do. I mean, you got him. I got him at plus 500. Depending, it may have shifted. It may have went down to plus 450. You may still be able to get it plus 550. But at 5-1, Trevor Lawrence to score a touchdown. Guy has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year and 10 red zone rushing attempts. So they're using him in the red zone. Tonight it probably will be needed. Jets have given up 5 rushing touchdowns to opposing QBs this season. 3 to Josh Allen, 2 to Ryan Pickett. And then Lawrence had 6 rush attempts against the Jets last year. So at 5-1, it's great value. And I know we throw these long shots out here. Zach Wilson, last week we gave him out at 6-1 against Detroit. He had his opportunity to go on. They overturned it, but we're in the right. We're looking at it the right way, I would say. So Trevor Lawrence. You
should have cashed that. That was bogus. Zach needs to get his freaking elbow off the ground, man. You should have cashed that. That was terrible.
Rough one, but we're in the right mind of thinking for these touchdown props, especially at plus 500. So give me Lawrence tonight to score.
Listen, Zach Wilson beat the Jags last year, so if he can beat him last year, don't see a reason why the Jets can't win this game. But who do you think wins tonight?
17-10 Jets. I do think Zenova Knight, he has been questionable all week, but he was a full participant in practice yesterday. It's a good sign. They get that run game going. Yeah. Defensively, along with the weather, I do think they're able to really control ones. It's hard to keep teams down so long in the NFL. So Jaguars, 3 of the last 4 victories. Jets, 3 straight losses. It's very hard to stay down this long, especially if you're a playoff competitive team. Give me the Jets to keep their season alive, 17-10.
Yeah, I didn't bet Zonovan Knight props this week, so he's going to have a good game. That's pretty
I love
much
it.
how I feel about that.
One.
Bobby Stanley, we so appreciate you coming on. Thank you for giving us your Thursday night football knowledge. We'll be talking to you later this week. Have a great holiday if I don't see you, because I'm not working Saturday or Sunday. So have a great holiday if I don't see you.
Merry Christmas, guys. Jared, I'll be seeing you this weekend.
Well, there's no show Sunday. Merry Christmas.
No Christmas.
And then Saturday, I have other responsibilities. So happy holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
And
Christmas.
Enjoy the first holiday with the little one.
That's really honestly that's gold right there. But I'm sure you guys have something fun planned. So
I'm going
to the family.
Full Clark Griswold. I got the family coming over. I'm deep frying a turkey. I'm making a rib roast. PJs.
Don't do anything that's going to prevent you from working next week, like blow off your eyebrows with that deep fried turkey, pal.
7 for 7 the last 7 years on this deep fried turkey. I'm
it's dangerous. My brother-in-law nearly killed himself over Thanksgiving.
Okay, we're not getting dark on the show, Jared. Come on now, just let him have his holiday. Let him fry
the video. It was like an explosion.
And we'll call it a day.
No.
Let him fry his own turkey. I love it.
Christmas this year is NBA and NFL. So NBA basketball is tradition in my family. I can't wait for it. And we got some football this year. Rams are playing Denver. If I don't see you guys, which it sounds like I might not, Merry Christmas. It's been awesome working with you so far.
Nothing says happy holidays, Merry Christmas like a deep fried turkey, Bobby Stanley. Good luck with that. Enjoy your time with your family. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Later, guys.
All right, we got a bowl game going on today. That was Bobby Stanley, and now we're taking it from the NFL to college football. The Armed Forces Bowl, the first time the Air Force and Baylor are playing each other, Jared, since 1977. I love this bowl because it prioritizes bowl-eligible service academy teams. This is going to be an interesting one. Baylor laying 3.5 points. That total is set at 43 at this point. I look at Baylor's season, and, it was okay, right? Their most memorable game was probably the one against TCU where they were 1 point short of spoiling the Horned Frogs' undefeated season. They had 3 games left to make probably their conference championship game, and they went 0-3. They finished the season 6-6, so they're a little down in the dumps. But with Air Force, I feel like they're riding a high right now because, 1, there's really no drama with the transfer portal. No one is transferring out this year. 2, there's really no turnover with coaches. They signed their head coach to a long extension. And 3, no one can do NIL deals because they're considered government employees. So there's no drama. All they're focusing on is football and running the option, basically, at this point. I kind of lean Air Force in this spot. How do you feel and see this game playing out?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. So the line opens 7. It's come down significantly off of 7. If you're betting Air Force today, you're kind of buying the bottom there, or really buying the top, I guess. But you're not getting as much line value, I don't think, with the Falcons. That's kind of been sucked out of the market. But again, we'll see if it matters. The thing with Baylor in this game is Dave Aranda, I think, is one of the best defensive minds on the planet right now, frankly. And you're giving him a month to prepare for the option. Now, yeah, you can make the case that Air Force, how can you go against Air Force in a military bowl, right? But I do think there's some value with Baylor if you're willing to subscribe to the line of thinking that they're going to be up for this game because of what you just said, Lauren. They lost 3 games to close the year. They're 6-6. I don't think they want to finish the year 6-7 with a loss to a service academy. And this game is being played in Texas, 100 miles from Waco. So they're going to have probably a pretty good crowd supporting them in this game. And they're going to own the line of scrimmage. They are bigger, faster, stronger than Air Force. The only question that I have, and it is always the question that comes to mind this time of year, how motivated are the Bears? I think because of the losses to end the year, they've got a pretty sour taste in their mouth. And when I looked at the transfer portal for Baylor, I didn't see much. They have one safety who is a pretty prominent safety for them that's transferring out. But other than that, backup quarterback, backup running back. So not a significant amount of personnel shipping out of town. The other interesting nugget here, their defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts, was fired at the end of the year. And I kind of think that's Yeah, I kind of think that's a motivating factor for them. Because first of all, Dave Aranda with a month to prepare does not need a defensive coordinator. Like, he is a defensive coordinator. That's his thing. So I don't think personnel wise and scheme wise and calling the defensive signals, there's going to be this big drop off in productivity from Baylor, because I think Dave Aranda actually might be a spark for their defense. Again, they haven't played since Friday before or Friday after Thanksgiving. It's been a full month since they've played a game. So I kind of like Baylor here in this spot. And I know, obviously 3.5, I'd rather have 3. And maybe it gets to 3, but because of all the action on Air Force down from 7, I don't see it sinking to 3. And if it does get to 3, that's when probably some pretty significant Baylor money will step into the market. So keep an eye on this one over the next, 8 hours or so. It kicks off at 7:30 Eastern time. But I kind of like Baylor. I gave out Baylor in the contest that I'm in my various contests, and I might get to the window on Baylor, but I'll be pretty tied up with the Jets game, and I'm putting 2 units on the Jets, so I might not. But I do kind of think if Baylor's up for this game, I think they kind of steamroll what's an Air Force. I mean, listen, I was looking at their Air Force schedule this morning. Their wins are not great this year. Like, they lost a ton of, or they won a ton of really close games, and their losses were to teams that you think they should win. So there's not a lot of talent on this Air Force team. Again, it's all just motivation, and is Baylor properly prepared for the option? But with a full month and Dave Aranda's brain, I think they will be. So I kind of lean Baylor in this spot.
So that's going to be funny because I actually have Air Force plus 3.5 for my play of the day. I'm not going to give you the reasoning why, because I want people to stick around and see it. But I have a couple reasons. There's actually three reasons why I like Air Force in this one. But before that, let's talk about our friends at Superbook Sports. Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports. Make sure you go to superbook.com or download the app today. And this season, Sundays are for safeties at Superbook. Just place a $100 pregame bet on any spread or any total, and if there's a safety scored in any game on Sunday, you get a $50 bonus. Superbook is available in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, and Tennessee. And they also have a great NFL podcast called Betting with the Barbers, featuring Rondé and Tiki Barber alongside host Ron Kruk. Rondé, Tiki, and Ron were nice enough to share their favorite picks from this week's episode with Pickswise Nation. Check it out.
Thanks, Pickswise. Here we go, guys. A big game in the NFC as the 8-5-1 Giants travel to the comeback kids, the Minnesota Vikings. Tiki, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, a team that's already got double-digit wins, and the Vikings are so confounding. I got to give the edge to the Giants. They play so tight to the vest. They don't make a ton of mistakes. They're first in the league in not giving the ball away. I know they're on the road, and I know Justin Jefferson is a stud, but give me the Giants. I like the way that they've been playing as of late, at least last weekend against the Commanders when they had to get that win.
The Vikings defense is probably playing as bad as they can possibly play. They give up a lot of yards throwing the football, but you know what the New York Giants don't do? Throw a lot of yards with the football. I think they're giving up less yards. I think they're throwing for less yards than the Vikings are actually giving up. I like the explosive offense of the Vikings. They find a way to do it week in and week out. They'll do it again this week.
Finally, they disagree. What will Minnesota do for an encore? Well, they'll fall behind, then they'll stage a comeback, and they'll win, and they'll cover. That's my take. Give me the Vikings in this one as well. Pickswise, back to you, and happy holidays.
Hey, thanks, guys. Happy holidays. Be sure to check out Betting with the Barbers every Thursday on all podcast platforms. All right, let's head to Pickswise.com. Jared, 3-star play of the day. Do we have any for today?
A bunch. Actually, 3 for today, and then, we got some NFL stuff for the weekend. Caps, Senators, Tyler Mortimer's got an NHL side. We've got Joe Williams checking in, George Washington, Washington State, Battle of the Washingtons. The total there, and then Hermantas Nita, Spurs, Pels side. So, yeah, got a few cross sports, all 3, NHL, NBA, college hoops tonight on the site.
Head on out to Pickswise.com for the best plays of the day. Speaking of our plays of the day, Jared, who do you have today? Thursday.
Yeah, we kind of breezed past the Jets Jaguars preview. So I will extend my play of the day and kind of give you a little bit of a glimpse into the game too, so we can satisfy our audience's need for NFL handicapping here on this Thursday. But I am laying it with the Jets tonight. I'm putting 2 units on them at -1.5. I'm obviously my personal bias. Oh, Jared, Jets fan again, betting the Jets. Homer. Sure, fine. You can call me that. I think this is going to be, again, a Jaguars offense. The weather is going to matter tonight. And again, we talked about it during Bobby's segment, but 9 out of 10 times usually we talk about the weather and it doesn't really play an impact on the game. I think this will be one of the 10, that it does. And I think the Jets are a little better equipped to run the ball. The Jaguars have the most one-dimensional offensive line in the NFL. They are dead last with their run blocking grade as a collective unit. And they're a top 10 pass blocking grade offensive line. So they're going to need to run the ball tonight if they're going to want to win this game. First of all, you can't throw on the Jets even in good conditions. They've got the best corner in the league who no one's even targeting anymore, Sauce Gardner. And DJ Reed on the other side played great last week. And Jared Goff didn't even try to throw to Sauce, like just 0 targets against him last week. So I think this is a Jets defense that's about as good as it gets. And Quinnen Williams, like they shut down the Lions last week without Quinnen Williams. I mean, it was a dominating performance by the Jets defense. The numbers all pop. They literally had one sleepy moment where Jared Goff kind of did a play action on 4th and 1 and there was no one in the flats and the tight end caught the ball and ran 50 yards down the field. Like that was it. That was really the only moment that the Lions offense had, and that was in good weather. And I think Trevor Lawrence, a little banged up with the toe. The Jets' backs are clearly against the wall, and this is a fade, sell high kind of Jaguars team after what was one of the most miraculous comebacks in the NFL all season, if you subtract anything that's taken place with the Vikings and the Colts, right? But I do like the direction that Trevor Lawrence is going in. He threw his first interception last week in 6 games, but all of the body language, all of the overall metrics are all trending in a positive direction. He's clearly taken a step forward this year with Doug Peterson. They've got a really dangerous offense. We talked about Evan Ingram during Bobby's segment, and I think Zay Jones is another guy to keep an eye on tonight. He's been grading out really well. But last week they faced the Cowboys secondary that's banged up and really struggles. And now they're facing a Jets secondary that's arguably the best secondary in the league. So and then you throw the weather in, and I think it's going to be a physical game, and I think that's the kind of game the Jets want to play. I'd love it if Quinnen Williams is back tonight. I'd love it if Zonovan Knight's 100%. I don't know if those 2 things are going to happen. Keep an eye on those on the status of those 2 guys as we head into game time. But this game's going to fall on the shoulders of Zach Wilson, just like most games do. He was very erratic last week. 54% adjusted accuracy rate, 2 turnover worthy plays. He threw an interception that I don't know what the heck he was looking at. But the Lions schemed it out well. I give a lot of credit to Aaron Glenn. They stacked the box. They made Wilson beat him deep. He did on a couple of occasions. But for the most part, down to down, he really struggled. And he doesn't handle the blitz well. Lowest PFF rating against the blitz this year. So I'm assuming he's going to see a lot of heat from this Jaguars front tonight. No Trayvon Walker, number 1 pick. Been playing well over the last few weeks. He is out. And I think this Jets offensive line, they need to step up tonight and they need to keep Zach Wilson upright. Because if he has time and if Zonovan Knight's moving the ball and if the Jets defense is doing their thing, I think this is going to be a good performance by the Jets tonight. And I think they're going to win this game. But Zach Wilson is the wild card here. Very volatile, very erratic. So that's the hope, is that we get a positive Wilson performance. He doesn't wilt under the bright lights. And maybe Lawrence a little bit banged up too, and we don't get the best out of Trevor Lawrence. But I am going to lay it with the Jets tonight. I'll give him one more chance this week after letting me down last week, and hopefully we get to the window with gangrene.
Zach Wilson and the weather, the 2 factors that no one really knows how to predict in this spot. We'll see how it all plays out as we kick off week 16 tonight. My best bet of the day, I'm taking the points with Air Force. +3.5. I look at a team like Air Force and they're just consistent. They're solid. I know they haven't had the strongest strength of schedule this year, but as I was saying before, they have a very low turnover with coaches, no one in the transfer portal, no NIL drama. All they have to focus on is this football game. And you talked about motivation factor. I actually feel like Air Force is going to be the more motivated team in this spot, because you look at Baylor, they had 3 games left in the regular season. If they won out, they were going to play for that Big 12 championship game most likely. They lost all 3. They don't want to be in this bowl game. Last year, they played in the Sugar Bowl against an SEC opponent. They're looking at it this year and they're like, I don't want to be in this spot. And you look at a couple of the transfers that they have. Devin Neal, that's a big one. He entered the transfer portal. That's a big hit for their defense. And then I look at Air Force's O-line that they have right now. They're incredibly solid. They're ranked top 10 nationally in line yards, power success rate, and opportunity rate. And then I was also reading an article, and I saw that service academies in general.
Whoa! Dropping
Yeah.
the
I was also reading an
O-line
article.
yards.
Yeah.
Wow.
O-line. Let's go, baby. I was also reading an article that just showed service academies. They've gone 70% basically against the spread in bowls over the last 15 or so years. I really like this matchup-wise for Air Force. I love the triple option. You can't root against the Service Academy team, Jared, because you look at Baylor's defense and they've really struggled to stop the run this season. They're outside the top 100 in rush success rate. You're not going to have very much success against a team with a solid O-line that ranks in the top 10 nationally in so many statistical categories, and a defense a bit going up against a defense that's outside the top 100 and defending the run when that's all that Air Force does. I like Air Force in this spot. I like getting them at 3.5. I would play it. I wouldn't play it any lower than them getting less than a field goal. I would play it +3, +3.5. Hopefully, we'll see how the line moves over the next couple of hours before this game actually starts. But I'm rooting for my Service Academy guys in the Armed Forces Bowl. You can't go wrong with that. And motivation factor, Service Academies always show up. Baylor doesn't want to be there. I just feel like this is a spot they're kind of looking ahead to next season and moving on at this point. We'll see what happens, but I'm interested to see. One bowl game today. Cannot wait to see it. This is day 7 or 8, Jared, of 19 straight days of football.
Honestly, I don't even know what freaking day it is anymore. I'm just ready for bowl season.
It's a Thursday, just so you know.
5 days in.
It's a Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, just so you know. That's it for today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. That's Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. Make sure to tune in for Pickswise Playbook Week 16. We're going live 1 p.m. Eastern Time on all of the Pickswise social media platforms. Make sure to check it out. We'll see you then. Let's get it. Let's bet it. Peace.